MC and first speaker, Tu Mutch. Tu Mutch is a queer and trans social justice advocate, organizer, and educator. As a former equality writer and featured speaker on the Vanguard Queer History Tour, Mia has facilitated community conversations on LGBTQ issues and identities at over 25 universities. A San Francisco Youth Commissioner, Mia is currently chair of the Housing LGBTQ and TAY Committee and uses her position to create, advocate, and implement policies that create safer and more equitable communities for all. She also serves on the SF LGBTQ Speakers Bureau Advisory Board and is a founder of Feather, a nonprofit which seeks to support low-income trans people in accessing transition surgeries. So, welcome, Tu Mutch.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. How's everyone doing? Great. How many people is this your first Bay Area Youth Summit? Oh my God, you too! Cool. So I'm glad that everyone was able to make it here today, that we're experiencing this for the first time together, and that we have so many familiar new faces here as well. So before you start, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. I know that a lot of us are here because we want to have a school transformation to make our schools more safe and accessible for LGBT students. And I know that a lot of us probably know the statistics of how LGBT students are affected by homophobia, queerphobia, and transphobia in our school districts, and how the learning outcomes and the lived experiences of queer and trans people differ largely from their straight counterparts due to institutional oppression as well as people being rude. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience. I know that a lot of times I feel like we live in a bubble here in San Francisco in the Bay Area because we are, one of the most progressive cities and areas in California as well as the country, and we're really seen as a leader for LGBT rights, especially in schools. But I don't think that the fight for LGBT youth equality is over. I know that even in San Francisco, in 1989, there was a school climate survey that said that San Francisco students were 2 times more likely to attempt committing suicide than their straight counterparts. So that was way back in 1989. And you think decades later that those numbers would improve, right? Because it gets better. But actually, the reported numbers of suicides has increased so that LGBT young people are now 5 to 6 times more likely to commit suicide than their straight counterparts. So that shows that what we're doing is not enough, and that our school districts and our leaders of our community are not doing enough to support LGBT youth. Growing up in Texas, in a very small town, we don't have conferences like this. So I recognize that living here and being here in itself is a privilege, because in Texas, the closest GSA to where I went to school was over an hour and a half away. And I remember in elementary school, our teacher would take us to the bathroom and say, boys go over here, girls go over here. And here I would be, walking up with all my girlfriends talking about Polly Pockets and skinny jeans. And then the boys would all go over here. And I'm kind of stuck in the middle, like, where do I go? I'm so confused. And because of that, and because I didn't feel safe in the bathrooms, I actually stopped going to the bathroom at school. I was holding my bladder for over 8 hours, which is a little bit unhealthy. So much so that I actually had to have surgery down there. And I know that sounds a little bit, too real, But I think that it's important to talk about this because our policies are affecting young people across the country, and I think that through sharing our stories that hopefully we can start to change the status quo. Because I think that it is awesome that now California is the first state in the country that allows trans people to go to the bathroom that they feel that matches the gender that they identify with, as well as going to the locker room that they choose. And I think that doing that across this country will help to have young people not experience the type of medical complications and isolation that I went through. You know, going into high school, like I said, we didn't have a GSA. I remember being on campus and getting bullied from students was an everyday occurrence, but also teachers and the administration chiming in. I remember that we would have pep rallies every Friday. We would get to dress up as 70s characters with tie-dye hair. We'd have days where we dressed like clowns, all for school spirit. One day, it was goth day. We were supposed to wear all black, wear eyeliner. So I was like, oh my God, this is a perfect excuse for me to bust out my skinny jeans, my tightly fitted girl band top, and wear a little eyeliner. Unfortunately, my principal thought that my eyeliner was a little too much and a little distracting from the learning environment. But clown costumes wasn't. I'm sensing a little problem here. So I decided to throw a day of silence. How many of you have thrown a day of silence at your school? Awesome! You know what I'm talking about. So I threw a day of silence at my school. Unfortunately, since we didn't have a GSA and we didn't have LGBT protections, I was threatened to be kicked out of school if I went through with throwing the day of silence. Because, again, LGBT young people not participating in class, choosing to be silent was disruptive. So I felt like this was a violation of my First Amendment right, and being the young little activist that I was, I decided to call my friends at the ACLU and Lambda Legal and have a nice little letter written to the school administration that threatened legal action if the school continued their discrimination. And I'm happy to say that the principal quickly bowed down to me. You know, in some cultures, trans people are worshipped. Not in Texas, but we're working on it. And so the day of silence was allowed to happen because I knew enough to Google and to contact the ACLU and to contact Lambda Legal. But a lot of students don't know about these resources and get stuck in an abusive environment without the tools they need to fight back. So I think that it was really hard for me, and I know it's hard for a lot of y'all who are currently LGBT in school. But I think that California, as I said, is leading the way in changing school climate. I also think that we're leading the way by being the first state to ban conversion therapy of youth. Did y'all hear about this? Yes? So conversion therapy is where a therapist attempts to change your sexual orientation to fit societal norms. So I actually went through this, and it kind of works. I'm a little straight. But it was really harmful, and I can joke about it now, but it wasn't funny whenever I was going to these classes and these counseling sessions, and people are telling me, that who I am and the way that I'm walking and talking and thinking is wrong and is a sin, is unnatural. So I remember in one of the masculinity workshops, which is basically a misogyny 101 workshop, we had these little worksheets that had all these blanks with questions, and they would say, how should you treat your wife? And no matter what the question was, I would always write love, 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 love in the blank, because I couldn't really take the time to read everything that was on there, because I felt so silenced and so oppressed by everything that was on there that I had to remind myself that one day I would find love and I would find community that supported me for who I was, that I would find a boyfriend like my boyfriend somewhere in the audience. You know, I knew that I would find love, and I really think that that is what got me through those horrible days, was always, always, always having hope that there could be a better tomorrow. I somehow graduated high school miraculously, and I was able to continue my advocacy. Like was said in my bio, I've been on the Youth Commission, I've been on several advisory boards, I've done a lot of speaking around the country. I've been honored by lists and organizations, and I say this not to be like, oh my God, I'm so cool, but to say that really I think that anyone can start at the bottom and not work your way up in a classist, like everybody climbed to the top sort of way, but in a way that says that if we're all fighting to do our best and to better our communities, that it will help everyone and will improve the lives of LGBT youth and our communities at large. I really honestly think that what got me through those horrible days was also my activism, because first and foremost, my activism distracted me from the horrible realities of my current school. But mostly it gave me hope that this little meeting that I'm going to, this little action, would lead to bigger changes down the road, and would help other people who are currently going through what I was going through have a better life. So I thank you for your commitment to better the lives of LGBT young people by coming here today and by going to the workshops and learning new strategies and tools that you can bring back to your GSA and to your town. So I'm really excited to be here, and I thank you everyone for coming. And so now I'd like to transition to our next featured speaker.